So welcome back to the third video in my Reparenting video series, and today we are going to talk our way through one very common thing that you might have experienced as a child that might have a lot to do with the way you eat and feel about your body today. So if you want to find out what that is, then be sure to keep watching. What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen. I am a spiritual life and business coach, and this is my YouTube channel where I bring you 2 new videos every week, all designed to help take you from struggle to sparkle. So if that is something that you are interested in, then be sure to keep watching. So welcome back. As I said at the top of the video, today we're going to walk you through another reparenting scenario, and today I wanted to talk through something that most of us have probably experienced when we were children, and talk about the various ways in which this one experience might have affected the way you eat, the way you think about your body, all of these kinds of issues. So if you don't know what reparenting is, just to recap, I've been doing a reparenting video series on here, and reparenting is just the process of us working through issues from our childhood that might have brought us some trauma, maybe that we didn't even realize. But this is a way for us to heal things from the inside, to give ourselves the love and experience, whatever experience that was, that we didn't get as an adult now, so that we can feel better now about whatever that experience is. So if you want to know more about this, you can go back and watch my previous 2 videos on this topic. And today we are going to walk you through something that most of us have experienced, or at least I, again, experienced as a child, but I know this experience is pretty common. But I wanted to bring this up today to show you how maybe you have some of these kind of small t trauma experiences from your childhood that you may need to heal, and maybe you're not even aware of them at the moment, right? Because we all tend to gloss over this stuff and think that we've outgrown it and think that we're beyond it, whereas the truth is a lot of this stuff stays with us for a really long time. It takes up space in our subconscious, and unless we go in and do the work to heal it, it is going to kind of control us and creep up on us in ways that we might not ever even realize. So with that all being said, let's jump into it. And today's experience that I wanted to talk about is, remember back to when you were a child and you were sitting around the dinner table and your mom or your dad gave you a plate full of food and told you that you needed to finish everything on your plate, right? So maybe you had to finish everything on your plate before you could go play, or before you could get dessert, or before whatever, right? But this is a very common thing for parents to sit their kids down at a table, give them a plate of food, and make their child eat, okay? So again, these videos aren't about blaming the parents. You can totally understand why a parent would be concerned about their child's nutrition and why you'd want them to eat a healthy amount of food, or a healthy ratio of vegetables to whatever. Like you understand why that is there. You understand what the parental issues were there. But let's dive into it and see how this one instance as a child that is so common and is happening, I guarantee you, still in households across the entire world today. How does this one issue potentially trap you, potentially shift the way you think, potentially affect you as an adult? Okay, so let's get into it. So the first message that you might have got from this experience, so if you are sitting at a table and you're being forced to eat this food and you're upset and you're crying and you're saying you're not hungry, maybe the big issue, the big message that you receive during this experience is that it isn't safe to trust your bodily cues or what your stomach is telling you. So this is what I think is a really damaging way to teach kids how to be around food. And I know kids can be finicky, and I know kids sometimes only eat like really weird foods or very small amounts of food, and parents can get really, anxious and worried for their child's health. But on the flip side of this, when you sit down and force your child to eat food, especially if this is a repeated pattern, again, what you're doing over time is teaching this child that what you say is more important than what they feel, right? And this is desensitizing them in a way to what is happening in their own bodies. So of course, it's not that much of a jump to see that, there are rising obesity rates in most westernized countries. So you can see how maybe a disconnect with our body and not being able to properly interpret the messages in our own body can actually end up resulting in bigger problems down the road. So that is one instance where you might need to go back in and reparent yourself and help you heal that issue, and then also heal the issues around eating and being able to trust yourself again. But basically anything that goes into a survival pattern when you are a child is a really difficult thing for you to break as an adult. So if you very early got on the message that you could not trust your body because that made your parents angry and that turned into a survival instinct for you. I mean, I know that sounds brutal. I'm not saying that your parents were abusive or anything like that, but that turns into a survival instinct. It turns into something that you need to do in order to feel secure and loved. Then that is going to be a really difficult thing for you to change as an adult because it is so deeply put in your subconscious mind. Again, you probably don't even realize that it's there. So that's why I'm doing this series, to help bring these things to light and help to show you how maybe you need to do a little bit of inner healing work on yourself. So the second thing, and this might have brought up, which is hinges on the first thing that I already mentioned, is maybe you learn from this experience that maybe you learned that what your body wants or what your body needs, it cannot be trusted, that there's other people that know better than you. So we are all physical creatures. We've all been given this physical body. And of course, it's an essential part of the human experience, like to eat and do all these things. But if you take that away, if you take away your ability to trust yourself in these situations, then you are automatically lowering your sensitivity to so many other things. So let's just think about that. If you again are given this message that you cannot trust yourself, that could blow over into so many other things as an adult. So it's just, again, really important to be aware of how this one sort of situation might still need healing work on you as an adult. The next point that I wanted to make today is that this scenario of a parent making you eat the food on your plate is ultimately giving you the message that other people's judgment or happiness is more important than your own. So again, this turns into a survival mechanism, and it can end up turning into sort of people-pleasing behavior in all kinds of other areas, which again, I know people-pleasing, that might not sound like a bad thing. Of course, to a parent, it probably doesn't sound like a bad thing to have a child that is a people-pleaser. But for a grown adult to constantly be putting the needs and the desires and the judgments of everyone else above their own, that ultimately becomes an exhausting way to live. You have lost your touch with yourself. You've lost trusting yourself. You've lost, connecting with yourself and knowing what's authentic for you. You have gotten so used to putting everyone else first. So that can become a very deep-rooted issue. And of course, that issue can come from so much more than this one scenario that I'm giving you today, but I'm trying to walk through these in a kind of very general way to give you an idea about how little tiny things, little incidences in your childhood might have been misinterpreted by your brain and also held onto for way, way longer than they needed to be, and in not a good way. Okay, the last thing that I wanted to go over today with this particular eat everything on your plate example that I'm giving you today is that maybe this instance gave you the idea that eating either too little or too much was wrong somehow and made you less lovable. So you can kind of see how this could maybe play over into a sort of eating disorder maybe down the road, right? So maybe if you are thinking that you have to eat a small amount in order to be loved, or you have to eat a really big amount in order to be loved, that can play with what you naturally think is okay, and ultimately play with how you feel as a person and how you feel in your body. So as a child, we just really want to be loved and accepted by our parents. And there are so many little things that our parents can do or say that might make us feel unsafe. And then that also creates, again, the survival instinct that we have to do something in order to feel loved. So if you are feeling like you have to follow the rules in order to feel loved because of something to do with your food, then again, that is a really interesting area to look, especially if you have issues around eating, if you have issues around body issues, if you have anything like that, you have basically kind of associated love with the thing that's on your plate in one way and not in a good way, right? It's no longer about unconditional love. It's about very conditional, very stringent rules that need to be followed. And we can very easily take that with us and turn that into an eating disorder or body dysmorphia or something down the road, right? If we get anxiety from this thing or we rebel against it, that can turn into something else. So of course, this video that I'm making today isn't going to go into how to solve that particular issue. But again, like I said, this reparenting process, it's of course going to be different for everybody. But what I'm really trying to do here is to open up your mind to looking at these situations that you had when you were a child and to question the lessons that you got from them. And when you can question the lesson and when you can look at this from the detached perspective that you now have as an adult, you can start to see how these things can have maybe turned into destructive behavior for you, or into a limiting behavior pattern for you as an adult. And once you can see where that has come from, then you can go back and go and heal that issue and start to feel whole and more in control and in love with yourself again. Okay, so that is it for today's video. I hope this gave you some food for thought, so to speak. Again, this reparenting topic, you know, it's hard to make videos for this because I have to be so general. And of course, when you are doing reparenting on yourself, it is going to be way more specific. But I hope that the ideas I'm bringing up here, the issues that I'm highlighting here, will help you to go back in and think about things in your past that maybe you need to do a little work on healing, because we all can benefit from this reparenting process. And again, this isn't about pointing the finger or blame at anyone. This is all about us learning how to heal ourselves so we can free ourselves to become our best self. Okay. That is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for being here. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about reparenting, go ahead and drop them below. If you like this video, then please give it a like. If you know someone that could use this message, pass this along to them. If you want to watch more, I've got my latest upload right here. And if you want to hang out for the long haul, which I think you do, go ahead and hit subscribe right here. Other than that, I'll be back in the next one. So until then, I'm wishing you an amazing week of true health and happiness. And as always, just remember, get ready for the miracle. See you guys.